Hello everyone, I'm John Higgins, contributing writer to Film and TV Now and the curator of the YouTube channel John Higgins Film Review, and I'm delighted to welcome one and all to this interview special with filmmaker Lorna Nickson Brown and actors Paula Wharton and Sid Phoenix. We're here to discuss their acclaimed short Dog Run, and before we start, I just want to sort of run through a few of these accolades that they've had recently. For example, Paula won the Best Supporting Actress Award at the British Short Film Awards recently. And we also know that Dog Run won Best UK Short by a female director at Big Cinema International Film Festival and was also the best film at the International Film Festival, The Hague. And Sid was nominated for Best Actor at the International Film Festival, The Hague, and got an honourable mention. So, warm welcome to you all.
Thank you very much for having us.
Okay, so let's kick off with these awards. Congratulations. And just tell us how you're all feeling about it.
Oh, it's just absolutely fantastic, John. You know, we made Dog Run. We filmed it over the course of a whole year, and the project has taken 3 years to make. So it's just so satisfying that it's finally getting an audience now, and that all over the world people are really responding to it and having an emotional reaction to it, which is wonderful.
Mm-hmm. And how are you feeling, Paula, about your award?
A bit sort of like coming to terms with it now, because I was in shock for about 48 hours, but yeah, it's really brilliant actually. And it's just another one to add to the Dog Run's collection.
Yeah, and what about you, Sid? I mean, you were nominated at that award ceremony, so how did it feel to just be amongst the elite of this category on that festival?
I mean, it's an honor. I know it's a cliche, but it is genuinely true that it is an honor to be nominated. I think anytime that you receive that sort of recognition, you know, like it's a wonderful feeling. And as Paula says, quite rightly, it's nice to continue the celebration of this beautiful film that Lorna's put together.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about it, because just for the context, it's about illegal working in, you know, and Paula's character is very sort of lures a guy from the soup kitchen into this rather sadistic, brutal world. So just tell us a bit more about, Lorna, about the start-off point for the short.
Sure. I mean, as well as a story about labor exploitation and modern slavery, it's also a story about equality between species as well. So juxtaposing that world of inequality between people against a world of equality between species. So it was inspired by my childhood dog, Tilly, who supported me through a difficult time in my life several years ago when I had thyroid cancer, and she was a great emotional support. She was really a therapy dog, as you would call them today. But she was great for me, and I kind of learned to have a great respect for other species and became vegetarian, and knew that I wanted to tell a story that kind of put another species at the heart of it, and kind of really challenge that arrogant perception that we've nothing to learn from other species. So Dog Run kind of came about because also I was hearing so much about these awful situations of labour exploitation, particularly in the West Midlands. I was living with my mum during COVID, and she was working for a charity supporting people in situations really similar to Jan, our lead character who Sid plays in the film. And so I just couldn't believe that, you know, the world doesn't really know so much about these cases, and they happen all the time. So I thought of putting these two worlds together and tell a story about symbiosis between animal kind, you know, humankind, animal species, and the natural world.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit about your production team, because obviously you were shooting on location and the logistics, because you shot on streets, you shot in fields. Tell us a bit more about that, and also about where you actually shot.
We filmed pretty much entirely in Wolverhampton. There was one shot that was in Worcestershire, but it was purely a West Midlands-based production, and I'm from Birmingham, and that was really satisfying to be able to do that in my home region. But we did shoot over a whole year, and as you've seen the film, like we see the caravan site, we see that small holding regularly throughout the seasons, and we were able to leave the caravans throughout the whole year, so the nature kind of grew into them, and they became a character in themselves almost. But we were able to return to these beautiful sites like the oak tree and the field, and the cast and crew kind of built their own connection to the space as well. And it was particularly satisfying in a production which is so much about, in terms of on screen, about reconnection to nature, that our crew in production were able to really build a kind of a love and a respect for the natural world in the making of the film as well.
Right. So Paula and Sid, let me bring you in. I've got to talk to you a little bit about your performances, because you got Paula, who's the overbearing, let's, go after this film. Then you've got Sid, who's incredibly silent and then strikes up this bomb with the dog. I mean, Sid, tell me a bit about that, because in terms of holding the camera, because you don't really say much, you're kind of grabbing food while you can, and you're actually the very quiet one on the building site where they're working. So how difficult was it to actually sort of maintain that kind of intensity where you're not actually saying much in the world? And likewise, in the opposite of that, Paula, what did you use to motivate yourself to create the emotional negativity that this very character has?
Well, I think not saying a word in the film was actually a big draw of the project for me, because just as an acting challenge, it was fascinating. Obviously the story is brilliant, the importance of it is incredibly important, but let's be honest, on a relatively selfish artistic level, just the being able to challenge myself to not say anything was a big part of what brought me on board. And I think, not to become too esoteric with it, but I think that one of the differences between working on camera as a performer and working on stage as a performer is when you're working on stage, it's about taking your emotional truth and making sure that you reach into that back row with that emotional truth. Whereas when you're working on camera, it's about keeping your emotional truth and making sure that there's no artifice that can get in the way, because the camera will be right there and it will pick up on it. And so that's as much a skill for a performer to remove that artifice as it is the responsibility of the director, which I think Lorna did an exceptional job of, to create a space where you don't feel that you need to shield yourself in any way from what the camera is capturing. And so it comes down to being in an environment where, because everyone feels so safe, that means that the walls that we normally carry with us in day-to-day life can come down. And while I do take pride in the work that I did to do that, I think that a huge amount of credit is due to Lorna, to Paula, to the rest of the cast for maintaining that space and that culture on set, which allowed me to then let all of the walls down. And really, when you've done that work, it just becomes about letting it happen. And it's almost the antithesis of doing something. The art is to not do anything and just allow the camera to capture it. So a huge amount of credit is due to Lorna and Paula and the rest of the team.
Mm-hmm. And Paula, what was it like for you?
As second in what Sid said about the really supportive atmosphere that Lorna created on set, that allowed you to take that risk. Particularly for my character, to go as far as I did and feel safe doing that. And knowing that the whole crew and the cast were behind you as well. And Sid's vulnerability as Jan was really useful as well. It's sort of like bouncing off that. But I think the thing that really motivated her first was her own fear with the gangmasters who were sort of controlling her as well. And it's that kind of cycle of abuse, that she was abused, she passed that on. And just having that actor, because it was Peter, is that right, Lorna? Peter on the phone was terrifying for me. And that really helped motivate me then to go on and then find that place where May just really attacks with spite, just these poor people.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about the dog, who really is a scene stealer. There's some beautiful scenes between you and this dog. There's that wonderful scene, where you're kind of cajoling, which actually reminded me a little bit of the scene between Mel Gibson and the German Shepherds in Lethal Weapon 3, where you goad him with food. And I just wanted to know, this is a general question for you, both Lorna and you, Sid, is the fact that when you rehearse with animals, obviously it's a short film. How challenging was it? And did you have people monitoring the animal action while you're on there, or was it different? Was it challenging?
People say don't work with animals or children because it's so difficult, especially on a short film which naturally has a low budget. But it was a joy. It was an absolute joy. And it wasn't just the dog. As you know, we had a butterfly, a rabbit, an owl, and they were fantastic. A big part of making that a kind of easy process was the preparation. So Sid and I went on dog walks with Lily, who plays our leading lady, Sabre. And we went on dog walks with Lily and her handler and owner, Linda. And so we really built that bond, and they had a very natural rapport. Like immediately when I saw them together, like she's very funny. Lily is very well trained, but she has a fantastic personality, and she's full of love, and she's a very funny dog. So really building that relationship with Sid and Lily beforehand was really important. On set, we didn't fuss her too much, so we could really make sure that she's, because it's for a dog, it's a lot of people to be around. A lot of people can be quite distracting when they need to focus on a single point, for example, for eye lines, for example. So we made sure not to fuss her too much on set, so she could really just focus on Sid. And I'll let Sid speak about his own bond with Lily in a moment. But really, it was just, as with the actors, the human actors, it was so important for me for the animal species to be relaxed. And people work their best. We all work our best when we're relaxed and we have an ease in the environment. And so making sure that they were always comfortable was at the forefront of my mind. And in a story about exploitation, I would never want to ever exploit the animals working on the show. So working with Don Riley, our producer in production, we made sure we all had all the kind of protocol in place and best practice for keeping safe spaces on set for the animals as well. We rarely did more than 2 takes, frankly, with any of the animals. Lily was so spot on, she nailed it right each time. So we didn't really need to. But when you see those moments of distress at the start of the film, when Sabre is, through Jan's POV, he's kind of interpreting her as a threat, when obviously she never actually ever was a threat to him. Most of that is done through, it's the camera angle, it's through close-up, it's through sound design. It's very little is through reaction. It's through his reaction. So we never actually made them unhappy at any point. And if you look in the wides of every single shot where she's barking, for example, a lot of the barking is in post-production, has been added in, but you can always see her tail wagging, which is an obvious sign that she's happy. But I'll let Sid speak about his own experience of working with Lily.
I mean, it was wonderful. Like you're absolutely right to say that there is, there was certainly a little bit of trepidation just about what it would be like to work with a dog for such a large portion of the film. I've been lucky enough to work with animals in the past, and while the animals are never the problem, it can create challenges on set. And so to come on board to this and have the experience that we had, I mean, it really is everyone, right? Like it's coming up and to beforehand, meeting Lily, spending a day together, bonding with her, like meeting Linda, like that isn't something that everyone would think to do, right? And so Lorna, to have you invite me up and put that together so that bond is already in place, it meant that I had the wonderful experience of when I first arrived on set on the first day of shooting, a few weeks later, however long it was, and I was there going, oh God, is she going to remember me? And suddenly I come around this corner and I see her on the other side of a field, and she just bolts towards me, and it's just like, so you're instantly in this space of just joy, and the fact that we're all smiling hearing that story, I think, is what Lorna and really managed to capture with this film. And so it became, as you say, like the crew resisting the urge to constantly go up and pet Lily because she's an incredible dog, so that Lily knows it's like, okay, well, I'm going to go to Sid. And I just got to, while it's an incredibly heavy subject matter and I don't want to make light of that, a lot of my experience was just hanging out with an amazing dog. I had a wonderful time making this film. It was great.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the aftermath of this film. I mean, obviously you're getting a lot of praise and awards. I mean, that's the great thing. But as you probably all know, making movies is a challenge. Achievement is to get the film made, and I think you guys have achieved something really great with this. So I'm just curious to know, Lorna, I mean, what's the plan for this? Are you going to expand it into a feature, or are you gonna kind of just say, well, this is done, and we're going to look at other things? And are you going to work with Paula and Sid again?
I would absolutely love to work with both Paula and Sid again. That would be a dream. On a feature of Dog Run, I'm not sure. I think there's definitely a story in the similar territory of labour exploitation and modern slavery. But I did make Dog Run to be a short film, and precisely to be a short. But definitely working towards a feature in the very near future.
Yeah, because I think this has got a touch of Ken Loach about it. I mean, the thing is, the Old Oak, which I saw recently, again, it's got that kind of human connection, which really there's a lot of intimacy that works really well. I mean, you're all great in it, but I can kind of see you lot in a feature which is a bit like a Ken Loach one, so maybe another pub or something. But also I think it's a good showcase for the region, because we often talk about the North-South divide, you know, and the fact that you are making a film that celebrates the Midland culture, which is something, because the Midlands has a great strong artistic legacy, certainly with music exceptionally. So I'm just curious to know, if you're not going to do this as short, but what issues and themes would you be keen to explore in future work? I mean, this is a question for the three of you.
I mean, but personally, stories of social justice are really important to me, and stories of emotional nuance, and I'm particularly interested in characters that are in conflict, they're with rich internal worlds, often in conflict with their external environments. That's something I'm fascinated in. Yeah, you're right to say. I mean, Ken Loach was a huge inspiration for Dog Run and my previous film, and Tony Garner, who obviously produced his films, has been, you know, such an inspiration for me as well. Both in their kind of naturalistic performances, but also stories of class divisions in the UK today.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up in a moment. I've got two final questions. I mean, what is next for you all? What are your immediate plans?
Sid, I'll go.
Sid, whoever wants to start, I should say.
Well, I mean, the immediate future is this weekend I'll be going out to Sicily, because Dog Run is represented in the Catania Film Festival there. So I'll be there with the film, which I'm very much looking forward to. Hopefully catch a little bit of sunshine. And then work-wise, Masters of the Air, which is a big Apple TV show about the U.S. Air Force in World War II, is coming out on January 26th. The first episode will be released on January 26th, and I'm in that, which I'm very excited about. I've got a couple of other TV things coming out next year that I'm not allowed to talk about yet, but I will be shouting about all over my Instagram as soon as such things are allowed. Yeah, and I'm very happy that the strikes appear to be over in Los Angeles, and I'm excited to get back to work. Thoroughly supported them, needed to happen, but I am also glad that we seem to be reaching a conclusion and we can all get back to work.
Paula?
Work-wise, I've just done some Coronation Street, so they might ask me back. I don't know, we'll see. Besides that, I don't know. And tonight I'm off to the Hippodrome in Birmingham Hippodrome to go and support some new writing. So, you know, bigging up the local talent there.
And Lorna, what about you?
I'm working at the moment on a TV drama with Jenna Coleman, and developing the feature and a TV show, 2 TV shows. So fingers crossed. Okay.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for your time and insights today. Dog Run is an excellent film, just wrapping up, which is an excellent short film. It will make you think, and it will make you cry and laugh on occasions. And it's continuing to blaze a trail alongside the wins that I mentioned earlier. So please do catch it when you can. Most importantly, do support indie films and short filmmakers like this team, because they are the lifeblood of the industry's future. And do check out their other work as and when they emerge. For more interviews like this, you can go to my YouTube channel, John Higgins Film Review. Subscribe and like the video so I can help grow the channel and bring more interviews like this. And you can read more of my articles, interviews, and reviews at www.filmandtvnow.com. And last year, I launched the film resource website, www.whatmovie.co.uk. So on that note, thank you very much, guys, and I look forward to hearing more about your work in time.
Thank you so much.
Okay.